All right, here we go. Let's start with the feet nice and wide, and we'll start by circling the head. So allow the shoulders to drop. This might be the most vigorously you've moved your body yet. So let's take it gently with the head over to one side, up. So really gentle head roll. We're not really dropping the head too far back. Just getting that nice stretch in the neck. The arms still heavy. And then we can start to involve the arms. Some of the arms come in front of the face, stretching into the fingertips, to the ceiling, to the side. We'll keep the legs straight initially. You'll feel that then this is all about movement into the neck and into the upper back. So let's keep it there just for a moment. We're still going in the same direction. Maybe at this point you might want to take the legs a little bit wider because we will slowly start to softly bend the knee as we start to take it a bit lower. Now just feel that as soon as we unlock the knees and we soften the knees and we bend forwards, we're taking that stretch then into the mid-spine. So just enjoy that sensations around the shoulder blades, the mid-spine, and then a bigger bend in the knees. Let's reach wide. So that we're then targeting the lower spine, also then taking it into the legs. So we're still going the same direction. Take it at your pace. So we see I'm lunging kind of to one side, dropping the head, sweeping the floor, taking the bend into the other knee, and opening. Let's have one more circle in this direction. See, I'm trying to stretch from one arm into the other. So we're starting to involve the whole body. Wonderful. So let's take it back the other way. So first of all, the head. The body weight starts to shift forwards and backwards. See how the shoulders drop forwards to take the stretch into the upper back. Then adding the arms. Just keep windmilling those arms around, starting to soften the knees. Both knees bend. We can take that stretch into the mid-back, into the lower spine, and then just thinking about nice big yawning movements. Last time. Wonderful. And then release down. So feet a little bit closer together. Now bend the knees a little bit. Let's have, for mirror you, the left fingers down to the floor and glide down to one side. So the knees are bent so the bottom not sticking out. Gliding to one side, the head's heavy, neck stretch here. And when there's no more give here, we're leaning as far as we can, then let's lift that right arm. Two-way stretch. So feeling lovely stretch down that right side of the body. To come up, someone's holding your hand and pulling you up. So we have engagement, no yanking on the spine. Take to the other side. So soft knees, neutral pelvis, drop the head, arm heavy. And then let's reach up to the ceiling. Adding that two-way stretch. Yummy. And then, so there's no sudden jerks on the spine. Find someone's putting your hand up and come back up. Let's take a twist with the spine. So let's start by placing the right foot in front of the left. Hold the ribs to the bottom line. Let's take a deep breath in here. And as you breathe out, let's swivel around to your right, keeping the hips pointing forward. See if you can really use the strength in your hands, arms to help the ribs swivel around a little bit more. Maybe we can look over the shoulder. And then we'll come center. So work with 3 more twists for the spine over to the right, over that front leg. If you want to make it a little bit more difficult, make sure you're on firm, solid ground. We can lift the front knee, but the main focus here is on that rotation of the spine. Try to keep the shoulders down. We'll swivel and return, or with the legs straight, feet anchored into the floor. I'm sure I've mentioned it before, but for a nice quality spinal twist, we don't want an excessive curve in that lower spine. So bottom tucked as we rotate, twisting. And last one to the side. Optional lift with the knee. Shoulders down, wide across the collarbone. And then let's take it straight to the other side. So if you're mirroring me, that left foot in front, hold into the ribs, neutral spine, shoulders down, and let's immediately take that twist over to your left. So feel your ringing at the waist, maybe looking over your shoulder before returning. See how you go with the balance, optional lift, maybe just the tips of the toes stay on the floor and we twist, maybe the knee lifts. Primary focus, rotation of the spine. Ooh, lost my balance there. Another two, neutral spine. Think about zipping up. So whenever we think about curling the pubic bone up to the ribs, we can maintain that core stability. It will just help to give us that balance, and it also helps to keep us in that sort of stacked alignment. And then one last one, either foot on the floor or with a knee lift, long through the tailbone, and then release that, and let's just have a little swing. So we're going to do a few things that involve twisting and the legs. So we'll take one movement at a time and then we'll see if we can link them. So let's start again with the legs nice and wide. Bend the knees so that they're out wide. Hands on the thighs. And let's just take a twist for now. So your right shoulder down to the left knee, and just feel like you're regaining a little bit of length in the spine. So your hands energetically pushing into the inner thigh. So you do that twist, length in the spine. And then to the other side. So we just call that our basic spinal twist. And then we can add on what we'll call the Cossacks. So weight into the left foot, straighten the right leg, and maybe lift the toes. And you're feeling it into the inner thigh. No overdoing it, just feeling a nice stretch into the other side. So the knee and the toes turn up to the ceiling, feeling a stretch down the back of the leg, inner thigh. So we'll maybe call that our Cossack. Next, if we think about an extended side angle, let's go back to the right toes turned out, and let's lift this left palm and reach back like there's a tray on the hand, and swiveling and opening back. So let's take this modified extended side angle to the other side. Just change the toes. Now left toes turned out. This forearm adding to that inner thigh stretch. Find your tray and open the chest. So we kind of two-way movement here. Your forearm into the knee, that tray reaching behind you. So we'll call that our extended side angle. Let's now think about a triangle. So back to right toes turned down. Dial this left hip down. Legs stay straight, and let's just glide down back of the hand on the inner thigh and take a side bend. And if you feel secure here, the top arm can lift, and I feel that two-way stretch. Hand on the hip, glide back up. Let's take that triangle to the other side. Trikonasana, left toes turned out, back of the hand on the inner thigh. This right hip dials down. This just means that the femur of this underside leg is really securely inside the hip joint, and we can glide down, optional to lift the top arm, two-way stretch. Wonderful. So every movement is side to side, but we can really use the body in so many different ways. So let's go back to the right hand side, turn the toes out, and that movement of holding the ribs, turn the ribs all the way over to the right, and like we're taking a standing saw. This front arm, if you're mirroring me, your left hand on the outer seam of the leg, and take a twist. So now you're looking over your right shoulder and gliding down. Slowly come back up to standing. We'll take the same thing to the other side. Turn the feet. So now left toes turn out. Hold the ribs, turn them around. Find the outer seam in that twist. So your chest is turning towards the back wall, and glide down towards the ankle. Slowly coming on up. We add on another one. Let's see if we can turn the right toes to the right and then turn the chest to the right and lift that back heel. So we've dialed the whole of that leg to face the same direction. And let's try that in the other direction. So the feet down, turning, so your left toes to the left. And then this hip dials to the same direction, so the back heel lifts. So let's just try that once more. It can be tricky just finding your balance to get that swiveling. So the hips then are square to one side, and then they're square to the other side. I'm going to do a whole set. We'll do one each side moving through. So let's go back to the beginning, bending the knees, and then taking that spinal twist, shoulder to opposite knee, and then across the other side, shoulder to opposite knee. Let's find that Cossack sort of a position. So lifting the toes, knees, toes pointing up. You can give the inner thigh a good rub here. That's a little bit tight. The Cossack to the other side. Foot down, lift the other toes. Waken up those adductors. That extended side angle. So let's turn the right toes to the right. And that offering a hand, reaching back, take a nice big stretch, opening the chest wide, really wide across the collarbone here, and spreading the fingers as well, active right to the fingertips. And let's take that one to the other side, standing up, turn the other toes out, find that offering hand, tray, and reaching behind, keeping the palm up to the ceiling. And then coming center, let's find that triangle. So we keep moving the feet, we keep working with the mobility of the hip. This one's with straight legs. Dial the hip down, hand on the inner seam, an optional lift of the top arm, two-way stretch. So I'm giving you a hand back up to take the triangle, Trikonasana to the other side. Dial your hip down and glide. No locking out the knee here. If anything, a little bit of a bend is fine, or a sense of pressing the shin up into the hand. And gliding back up. Right toes to the right, hold the ribs. So it's kind of like a standing saw. Turn to face the leg. Back of the hand on the outside, on the outer seam, and glide down. Option here to lift the top arm. Gliding back up, let's take that to the other side. Turn the toes out, turn the ribs. Back of the hand on the outer seam, starting to lift the top shoulder, maybe extending the arm. And then coming up. And the final one was like going from a high lunge to a high lunge. So right toes turn out, the ribs turn, and now we lift that back heel. If you're okay here, bend your front knee and take a little bit of a lunge. Maybe you could face the back wall. Slowly coming center. The other side. Left toes turned out, turn the ribs, face the side wall. Maybe if you feel secure, opening the arms and lunging, bending the front knee. Twist to the spine. Slowly coming up. Last round, have you got it? If you get this sequence, it's a really nice way to work the whole body. So you might remember some of this, and any of those mornings you feel a little bit stiff. So last time round, let's bend the knees, take a spinal twist, inner thigh stretch here, side to side. Let's take that Cossack. So this knee bent, one leg straight, toes lift, stretching the leg. Take it to the other side. Inner thigh, back of the leg. Feel it straight, tight in the calf muscles if they're a little bit tight. Extended side angle. So turn the right toes out. Knee bend so it's over the ankle. And then that tray. So this is a sense of opening the chest out wide. Inner thigh stretch. Chest opener. Side bend. And to the other side, change the feet, take a bend in the knee, find that tray and open wide across the chest. Triangle, coming back up Change the feet again, right toes out, legs stay straight. Dialing the hip down, gliding, two-way stretch. Engage the core to come up. So we have to be mindful about keep changing the direction of the toes so that when if we're taking a bend into the knee or we're loading onto one side of the body, that we're not straining the knee. So if the knee's pointing in the same direction as the toes, this is a much nicer, stronger, more supportive position for the whole leg. Let's take that twist, right toes up, turn the ribs all the way over, find the back of the hand to the outer seam and glide into that twisted fold, flexion and twist, optional lift of your back arm. Over to the other side, twist the whole upper body, glide, twist and fold. Doing well, nearly there. Now it's that high lunge position. So we'll start with the toes, the upper body, and then the last element is that heel at the back lifting. If you want, you can bend the front knee. If you want, you keep turning and opening the arms wide. If you have your balance, coming back to center, turn the feet, ribs, all the way down to the heel, bending the front knee and a two-way stretch. Gently coming center, and then let's step the legs together. Front, have a good shake out of the legs. We've got one more thing standing up, and I thought we would do kind of like a swan balance. So let's start with the arms. If you can take a full hidden prayer, we'll go for that. Otherwise, the open book. Otherwise, the hands stacked on the back. So just find a position where we can open across the chest and the elbows are back. Now with the feet, let's think about placing the weight into one foot, bending the knee, and we slowly lift up onto the other toes until all the weight is in that standing leg. So let's think about maybe this right foot is taking the weight and coming up onto the left tippy toes. Now with this standing leg bent, think about the seesaw, the balance of weight. We zip up the core and we hinge forwards from the hips as this lifted knee starts to adjust and travel backwards. So we can find this leaning balance. And the nice thing about this is you can go at whatever pace and however deeply into it you want to go. So if we start nice and upright, remember the standing leg, soft bend in the knee, and then we're working just with the tiptoes of the lifting leg. So as the chest comes forwards, maybe we send those toes behind. So even just a small movement, work with it. So wherever your balance is today, whether you're in hidden prayer, maybe we lift, but we want to keep a nice long neck, just work with whatever's a challenge that would be great to stick with, be patient. One more go on that side and then I promise you we're coming down to the mat. So look at something that's not moving. Try to pause if you get wobbly, your brain needs to calibrate. Find where more engagement, strengthening is needed. A little bit of strain, as long as it's not painful, is fine for the tissues. And then let's come up. So shake that leg that we've been standing, shake out the arms, the hands, and let's take the weight into the other leg. So find a position for your hands. Remember, you can stack, but if you're stacking the hands, let's have the other hand on top. And let's just first of all play with softening the standing leg and taking the weight out of your other legs. And maybe just for now, the toes still need to be propping you up. So the hands on the back of the body is just that reminder to keep long through the spine. And then we can start to think about hinging the upper body forwards, the lifting leg backwards. So counterbalance created here, Going slowly, find that control and come out at any point. So here, this is another example. You see the knee is absolutely in line with the toes. So we have the strength of the whole of the leg. The knee isn't coming too far over the toes. I can still see the toes throughout. And it's our last one. And let's slowly come out. I'm going to adjust the camera down while you give your legs a nice shake out. That was brilliant. How are we doing? Brilliant. Okay, so let's start by finding your way down to the floor. We're going to take a nice position for the hips. Let's bend your right knee, your left knee is bent a little bit behind. So it's kind of mermaid position. Up to you how close the knees are. And now let's dial your ribs down to face this front knee. The pelvis is rolling forwards. And let's just take a moment to fold over the front knee. So maybe you're upright on the hands. Maybe your chest comes all the way down to the thigh. But we're here just for 3 breaths. And try to relax out those external rotations of the hip. Maybe resting your head down. But allow your upper body weight to coax some softening and relaxation into this hip. So there's nothing aggressive about this stretch. This should be lovely and relaxing after that kind of continuous movement for 20 minutes or so on the legs. So let's come back up to a seated position, and now the focus is on this back leg. I'm going to glare at the sun, can we see? So let's try to stabilize the upper body and see if we can just lift that back knee without changing the position of the pelvis. So we're lifting the knee as high as it will go. You see, it'd be very easy just to make, to give into the pelvis taking on all the work. Let's keep the pelvis to the crest of the hips, stay in the central position, maybe a frustratingly small movement, but let's just work with a few rounds of lifting the back knee and clamming it close back towards the floor. So this is true hip mobility. We're not outsourcing to any other part of the body, the spine, the pelvis. It's all about moving the thigh bone within the hip joint. Give me another 2 here. Squeezing, lifting high and lowering. Last time. So from here we'll take a seated twist. So you'll know probably already whether you can just swing and place the foot on the outside of the knee, or whether you need to stretch out this lower leg. But that knee that we've been lifting, that foot's now flat on the floor. We're going to give this knee a big hug. So wrapping your arms around. Sense of a twist here, so the knee's coming to the opposite shoulder. And if you can bend that lower knee, you'll get a little bit more of a stretch into the hips. So target area with that knee where we were lifting it, that hip, we want to stretch out a little bit and relieve tension. So the sit bones grounding down into the floor. We're hugging the knee to the opposite armpit. And breathing. If you've got a spare hand here, the heel of the hand can lightly press on the ball of the foot if your lower leg is bent. And breathe deeply. You lean as much into that hip as you need to get a really satisfying stretch. And then we have to take that deer fold to the other side. So when you're ready, let's release the leg. So it's the other leg in front now. We'll turn the chest to face the front knee. So the chest lines up with the thigh. Dial the hip down and start to fold. To find where is just a nice, comfortable level of pressure on that front thigh. No forcing. You can stack fists, rest the forehead down, or stay in an upright position. Let's just find 3 quiet breaths here to soften that compression of the front hip. And just softening with each out breath. So we'll be taking that movement again into the back leg. So slowly pace yourself up so you're upright again. Hand on the hip so that we can have that feedback that we're not moving the hip. And see if we can start to lift this back knee. If possible, work with the breath. So breathe in to prepare, keeping the spine long, breathing out and lifting. So navel to spine. Chin's tucked. No crease at the back of the neck. Doing well. Just a couple more, and then we'll take that seated twist. Feel that lift. Let's have one more on this side. Opening the knees out wide. And then find your seated twist. So it's the foot on the outside of the knee. Or extend that lower leg and place the foot on the outside of the knee. We're hugging, so your knee to opposite elbow. Sit bones down into the floor. The optional bend of that lower knee. So grounded through both sit bones, hugging tightly into the chest and thigh, closely together, and rocking so you're really imprinting the hip bone, the sit bones of that target hip. And enjoy cuddling closely. Don't be looking at the clock. I know there are only 3 minutes to go, but that's long enough for a boat. Navasana. Are we ready? So let's untangle. Knees bent, feet flat. Different levels, always different levels. We just want some engagement in the core. So shoulders back and down. We're holding the backs of the knees and just roll back off the sit bones. We can test if we're ready to lift one leg at a time. If you're ready, lift both legs. But you still always have the option of the feet going down to the floor. Now let's take a small movement of leaning back as if you're trying to straighten the legs and lie back, and then coming back to your starting position. So we're hugging in. You can test your core by then, see if you can hold that position without the hands and then extending. So whichever level, whether you're holding onto the knees, whether the feet are gliding along the floor, just find a nice gliding, constant movement. I think like ebbing and flowing to so near the end so you can afford to empty the tank of fuel and go to your maximum. So we can breathe in as we extend. We want to stay zipped in, breathing out to help draw the knees back into the chest. So the sense here is when we breathe in, see if you can puff the lungs out of the back of the body so that we can keep the front ribs together, navel to spine. Nearly there. 5. Here we go. Breathe in, squeeze, return. Here's 4. More of a challenge. Hands lift up to the head. 3, 2, 1 more. Hold. And return. Take a moment to take a full body stretch, and let's stretch out those abdominal muscles. So hold the hands, opposite hand overhead, and take a good stretch. Widen out the legs, so rocking from one bottom cheek to the other, so the legs full up side to side, shaking out any tension down to the ankles. When you're ready, hug the knees into the chest. We'll end sitting up, so hold the knees. Let's rock on the spine and slowly come on up to sitting or roll onto one side and meet you at the top here. Let's take a nice deep breath in, stretching the arms overhead. Really stretch and climb. As you breathe out, head to the right and float the arms all the way down, really stretching across the arms until the fingertips find the floor. Slowly guide the head back up to center, stretch overhead and climb, and then take it to the other side. Drop the shoulders down, head is well supported, flutter the fingers down, and then slowly return back to center. Shoulders, hold the shoulders, roll the shoulders back and down. Twice more, lift and roll back. Last time. Deep breath in, breathe out, shoulders back and down. Nice long neck. There you go. Bob's your uncle, 30 minutes.